So the conversation came up on one of our comment threads the other day about using the Ruger 1022 as a tactical rifle. I said to myself, that sounds like a good excuse to go shooting. So let's go shooting, men. Cue the intro. Long-term viewers and regular commenters, Ogre Dad and Jimmy D were gotten to a discussion on one of the other videos about whether or not the 1022 was a viable option as a tactical rifle, the Ruger 1022. You all know the gun. This isn't a review of the weapon. There's lots of really good reviews of this weapon on YouTube. I'm probably not qualified to add anything to that conversation, except to say everyone loves it. It's a great little weapon. But I figured if two guys like that were interested in the topic, maybe we should throw a little video out there. So I am ashamed to say, I am embarrassed. I may have to give up my prepper credentials when I admit that I don't own a Ruger 1022. I love the weapon. I really want one. It's may be or may not be the next gun on my list. The problem is I'm a gun guy. I just like guns. So I don't always think rationally when it comes to them. It should be, though. It should be on my list. So I thought, what the heck? I went and borrowed a 1022 from a buddy and got a box of ammo, and we're just going to do a quick little, no real test. That's not a review. I don't do reviews. But we're going to go about 50 yards out and just throw a few rounds downrange and thinking from a tactical standpoint. A few things to keep in mind. 1022, here we go again. I've done this. Every time we've tried to film this, I've called the Ruger 22. Stand by, 1 minute. All right, I've called the 22 long rifle the 1022 6 times. I'm not reshooting this again. The 22 long rifle has been around since the late 1800s. It's the most sold and that's the most purchased cartridge in the world. You know, any argument you could make for the AK-47 and the 7.62 by 39, you could probably almost make for the 22 long rifle. It's cheap, it's ubiquitous, and within its design parameters, it's pretty effective. It's a 40 grain bullet, traveling at about 1,200 feet per second. That's real generic though, because there's so many different loadings and manufacturers and everything out there. The actual bullet weight ranges from 20 to 60 grains, I'm told, and all the way from 550 feet per second for a subsonic round, all the way up to, I believe I read 1,800 feet per second for some of the high-end light rounds. So it's a wide range of bullets and weights, and of course it comes in every possible weapon known to man. It drops a little too much to even try to shoot it past 150 yards, and you know, all the gun guys are slapping their foreheads yelling 150 yards, who would ever shoot a 2,250 yards? I'm just telling you what the experts who write about these things say, that you can effectively shoot it at a target at 150 yards. I've read other people who say it's pointless to shoot it at anything past 100. I've read people who said it's pointless to shoot it at anything past 60 yards. I believe we're going to shoot at 50 yards here in a minute. So, yeah, here we go. We're going to have a little fun range time, get some trigger time in, and maybe get a feel for what this thing can do. I can tell you going in, my hypothesis is that it is an effective weapon if you use it, play to its strengths. You know, its strengths are lots of really cheap bullets. I mean, you can just, with no recoil, low noise, I mean, you can just throw hundreds of rounds downrange, literally. When I was a kid, there was a rig they used to make for these where you could take two of them and put them in the rig, turn them sideways next to each other, and they had a crank, and it looked like an old anti-aircraft gun, and you could dump 1,100 rounds per minute downrange. I have not seen that in a long time. If anybody has one, I'd love to hear about it, because I've always thought they were the coolest thing. But that's my hypothesis going in, that it is a very viable option for a tactical rifle if it's used in a manner that plays to its strengths, which is high volume of fire, well aimed. let's take a few shots and see what we come up with, man. All right, there's our target down there. It's just a stump on top of a post. It's about 50 yards. We're going to see how many shots out of 5, how quick we can get in them. This magazine is junk. Alright, so we came down here and checked on old Blockhead, and we got 8 shots in him. Actually was able to recover one of the bullets too. We got him right, clipped him right down there on the bottom, and the bullet got wedged up between the block and the post, which probably doesn't speak well to the lethality of the round. The point though, and you saw the stoppages and the problems with the magazine, is that you can throw a lot of lead downrange with this little rifle in a short amount of time. That is an advantage not to be dismissed lightly. Alright, so what's the conclusion of the whole exercise? Well, I'll be honest with you, I had a foregone conclusion coming in, and I challenged it for myself just a teensy-weensy little bit. I thought coming in, no doubt, a semi-automatic 22 long rifle like the 1022 would be a fine tactical option for lots of people in most situations. I have rethought that just a little bit here in the last few minutes, and I'm sort of formulating all this in my mind at the moment. This was all supposed to be just kind of a fun little, throwaway, and I've actually kind of got to come up with some more conclusions. But right off the bat, I say, there's some caveats to this weapon as a tactical option. The first being, obviously you got to have the extended magazine. If you're going to use this as a tactical option, you're relying on I don't want to say spray and pray, but you're relying on volume of fire. You've got to hit that target a lot, and you've got to hit it accurately, because the weapon's advantage is follow-up shots, easy, quick follow-up shots. And so the 50-round magazine, I think, is a bare minimum if you're going to pretend like this is a tactical weapon. The second is you're going to have to put spend some money on your sights, and you're going to have to put a good ghost ring on this. This particular weapon, and like I said, it's a borrowed weapon. This little flip-up sight that the vast majority of these have, it's just not good for those quick follow-up shots, throwing down large amounts of lead. Same thing with the scope. This isn't my rifle, so I'm not messing with my buddy's scope at all. I would imagine I could maybe make this work a little bit better if I adjusted the eye relief and whatnot. Another problem I had never noticed with these little weapons is that the buttstock is just too short. I wasn't able to get a good cheek weld. I wasn't able to get a good eye relief with either the scope or the iron sights, because the buttstock was just too short. It needs to actually be a little bigger. So with those caveats, and with like we talked about earlier, this is about volume of fire. That's what this. If you're going to use this weapon tactically, that's what you're dealing with, is volume of fire. You cannot compare it shot to shot with any of the other rifle. Any other, even any other carbon chambered, even a pistol maybe. If you take one shot with the 22 long rifle and one shot with the 308 Winchester, I mean that's not even it's a stupid point to even bring up. You can't compare it shot to shot. It's a whole different philosophy, and you have to adjust your tactics and your training and your plan accordingly. You're throwing large amounts of bullets downrange at high rates of speed. The bullets aren't going at high rates of speed. You're launching them at high rates of speed, and you have to be accurate and you have to be fast for this weapon to be an effective option. And like I said, for me, I still want one of these. I think this is an essential rifle, but I'd have to do something about that stock. I'd have to lengthen that stock. I'd have to get some good ghost ring sights on there, and obviously the extended magazine. So a little bit of a mixed bag. This particular one's not set up for a tactical weapon. which means a lot of the ones the guys have sitting in their closet somewhere probably aren't either. We might do some more with this in the future. Like I said, this is just supposed to be a quick, fun little video to get a gun video up, because it's been a while, and it's actually raised some interesting things I need to look into and research. Thank you, man.